Being a teacher is not easy. It is an art that requires determination and strong emotional maturity.
Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Real Talk with your host, Natoya Perkins. Today, we are going to explore the dynamics of being a classroom teacher and a lecturer. We have with us lecturer at a prominent college in Jamaica. Her name is Mrs. Nicole Dean-Perkins, and she will be sharing her journey through being a classroom teacher and transferring to becoming a lecturer at the school she is working at today. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Dean-Perkins.
Thank you for having me.
Good, good. So, since I've met you, you've been a teacher. So tell the audience, how long have you been a teacher?
But I've been teaching for 10 years.
Oh, 10 years. Wow, you're catching up with me, man. Okay, so where did the interest of becoming a teacher come from? Where did it come from?
Well, the interest of becoming a teacher actually started in my early childhood years. It actually started at 8 when I was selected by my Sunday school teacher to become a Sunday school teacher as early as age 8.
Wow.
So able to read the Bible stories and recall and explain them well, and they were very impressed by it. So they took me and had me in charge of the little children, those age 2 to 5, and I had those children teaching them Sunday school, and it actually started there. But what really cemented my love for teaching was when I was about 13, when one of my cousins who wasn't doing well in school had passed for junior high school, and her mommy was trying to transfer her to a upgraded high school, and she was told that she had to improve her reading. So my mother took my cousin in, and I did read how to do her mathematics and so on, and by the end of the first semester she got transferred to secondary school, and that
Wow.
now really showed that I for teaching
So
before I even started
so
training.
you're a bright spark from day one. I
I
can
would
see.
say that.
That was good. That's a good information to hear. So since you have been that embedded thing that is in you, I just want to ask you though, how would you describe your teaching journey in the classroom?
All right, then I'll use two words: rewarding and fulfilling would also mean rewarding, but rewarding in the sense that as a teacher you get to see your students move from one state to the next, right? And
Mm,
especially school teacher who will prepare students for final exams, you'll
right.
see them for good grades. So you get that reward from teaching. And not only just them scoring the great grades, but to see them being placed in the Caribbean and being placed on the top 10 list and all these stuff, you get that type of reward. But also you get this deep fulfillment from teaching where you are able to take people or students from one level. They'll come to you not knowing anything, and commonly my students come to me not knowing anything because I teach geography. Many a time they don't even know how to identify the Caribbean region on a map, and by the end of their experience with me, you have them identifying countries all the way out in the Pacific that they didn't even know their names before. So you get that type of fulfillment from seeing someone develop from a state of the unaware to the known.
So you notice your journey throughout the teaching process is that you see how children grow in that going from one stage to the next, and it makes you feel fulfilled. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
this is interesting. So what are some of your most successful achievements and what weren't so successful?
All right, so in the early parts, I'm going to start with the areas that weren't very successful. So in the early parts of teaching, starting your journey as a classroom teacher, being young, not very emotionally mature, you'll
Yeah.
find that students will talk to you and then you feel hurt and then you have resentment for them and you really don't enjoy your job during those periods when you're very, very young and emotionally unstable or unstable. You sometimes tell them stuff and because you have a professional responsibility you can't, and then that feeling cause resentment and bitterness towards your student. But as I grew as a teacher, I realized that I became more emotionally mature, and I realized that students say stuff to just pull your leg and to provoke and to see how far they can take you as a teacher.
Yeah.
So understanding that now, I became less bitter towards my students, less resentful, and then I started to have this want to change them, this want to impress them. And it's not the type of impress where you go and you drop your standards, but through your teaching, your passion that you take to the classroom, through that type of passion, you have your students love you. And I learned this from an older teacher who said to me that just do the best, just be the best that you can, and if they start getting good grades, they'll stop pulling your legs, because they're pulling your legs
Mm.
because you're young and they want to see how far they'll pull you. And I remember taking a job at a secondary school in Jamaica, which was deemed as one of those schools that are not doing well. And I was leaving a traditional high school for the job. And when I told the vice principal that I was leaving, and I told him the name of the school, he said to me, "Nicole, you're committing career suicide." I've never heard that before. And he said, "Don't leave. Stay, because you have talent and this is somewhere for you to grow." But I made a decision still, and I left and I went to this school. And for the first year or so, it was difficult, but I was bent on ensuring that I was not creating or doing any damage to myself. So I went to the school and I did my best. And I saw my students. I got students who weren't reading. They were, when I saw their reading grades, they were reading at the grade 1 level, and this is grade 7.
This is grade 7
Exactly.
students. Wow.
And they were reading at the grade 1 level, and I'm now here teaching these students history. So although I'm a geography teacher trained, I also did training in geography and history. And I'm teaching these students history, a subject that requires reading in the content area. So I remember doing a course actually called Reading in the Content Area, and also attending workshops that gave exposed us to training to teach students who come to us with below level reading. And I applied many of those strategies in my class, and I realized it just was not working. They had
Mm.
no, they were loud. There was about 16 of them, and they would not come to class. So I decided to change the approach. And I realized that many of them, they like to learn about different countries and they like to hear about different countries. And I was teaching world history. So what I did, I would carry them on a daily basis to journeys to Africa, or the different countries in Africa. And then from that experience, they were able to label their map of label the continent of Africa. And then when now I'm teaching the Caribbean part of it, I remember saying to them one day, "Where's the Caribbean region?" And they said, "We don't know, miss. Jamaica is in the Caribbean." So I said to them, "What should you do if you hear a name of a country or so on? What things on a map can you use to associate?" And they were applying their skills, and a student said, "Miss, me find the Caribbean Sea." And I'm like, able to read this, so therefore you realize that having them interacting with the map developed their reading skills. And now he said he found the Caribbean Sea, and from there now I saw growth in these students. And when I followed them to grade 8, I had those students label the map of the world without an atlas. And
Wow.
that development is so fulfilling. Many a time when I think about it, I feel like I'm about to cry. because
Oh,
these who had difficulty writing their names, and these students are now identifying countries that they can hardly spell the names of on a map. So that's one of my most rewarding experiences.
but what I realized, all feel so down and feel resentful and like the kids not learning anything, and you think you get the worst set of kids, but then when you see them grow and you feel so full, you
Exactly.
feel full and encouraged that your children are growing. If you did not have the interactive lesson to give to these kids, whether it's seventh grade, eighth grade, kindergarten, elementary school, these kids desire to have interactive lessons to grow and to build and to learn
Exactly.
new ideas, new things. Wow, this is so interesting. So, Mrs. Dean-Perkins, it was nice having you. So, before we go, we just want to take a break and we'll be right back with Real Talk, your host, Natoya Perkins. Welcome back to Real Talk with your host, Natoya Perkins. We are here with lecturer Nicole Dean-Perkins, and we are talking about her transferring from classroom teacher into a lecturer. And now we're going to ask you, Mrs. Dean-Perkins, how did you move from a classroom teacher to a
Divine intervention.
lecturer? Indeed, it was. So tell us about
Divine
that.
intervention. All right. Well, after leaving the school that I spoke of earlier, that was where I had students who were performing well. That school was merged with another school because of low student turnout. And I, the principal there, I had expressed with her that I would, if an opportunity arise where I could be sent elsewhere, I would take up that opportunity. So she went to the ministry, and I was highly recommended by this principal because she was very um, proud of the type of work that I put in my students when I joined the staff there, because she herself was a new principal and she wanted to turn the school around. So I was one of those new teachers that she had invited to come and be a part of her type of transformational move for this school. However, the ministry decided that they wanted to merge the school. So she recommended me to the top high schools in Jamaica to move to that school, and I secured a job there. And I was there working for 3 years. However, in my first year, the Ministry of Education um, was launching a new curriculum, and they required high school teachers from this school because this school was a part of the pilot project for this. So this school was piloting the curriculum, and we were thought to be experts because we were the ones teaching this new curriculum. So when the request was sent to my school for teachers who they believe qualified to become master trainers, I was recommended. So I went and I was trained to become master trainer with the Ministry of Education, and did workshops with them. So at the end of the workshop, while I was at the training, I met some of my lecturers who taught me while I was a teacher trainer, while I was in teacher training. And after doing the workshop, one of the EOs that I was working with too was my former lecturer. And opening came at the teachers college that I attended, and I was recommended for the post. Note, I wasn't qualified.
Oh, wow.
I was off on maternity leave, and she was calling school for over 3 months asking for me. And when I finally returned from leave, I saw this note on my desk. call such and such a lecturer immediately from this university. And I returned her call and she said, I've been calling you like forever. There's a post here and we want you to take it up. So please apply. And I'm like, but I'm not qualified. I didn't complete my master's and so on. And she's like, still apply. And I said, if I apply, will you recommend me for the position? And she said, that's why I'm calling you, apply. So I applied. I went to the interview, and by the time I stepped outside, I believing that, I'm going to wait a few days or so to hear that I got this job. They came out of the meeting immediately and said, you were selected. And that's how my journey started as a lecturer.
Oh, this is interesting. So sometimes it's not just it's raw talent, as we talk about raw and real, it's raw talent that pull you into that position. Also the divine intervention, as you said, the divine intervention of God.
Exactly.
What words of encouragement do you have for young teachers coming into the field of being a teacher?
Well, I would first say to them that your first years of teaching will be challenging, might be challenging, because as a teacher, you are required to be very emotionally stable to take on the job, because you'll meet students with different social background and they're coming from different homes, so they're coming with different styles of socialization. And if you are not emotionally prepared to take on these challenges, you will have a difficulty in your classroom. But I would say to the individual, regardless of that, teaching is an art, and every time you do it, the longer you stay at it, the better you will become. And for everyone, people grow over time. Today you might be great at spelling words, tomorrow you might be better at the meaning for words. So I'll say to them, keep at it, and when you secure a job, do your best, keep doing your best, do it as if it's the last thing that you're doing, and also do it to honor God. I would say to my students that I teach now is that because I train teachers, treat your job as your ministry. It's as if it's your ministry to God, because teaching to me too, anyone who is great at teaching, I think it's a gift, and it's a gift from God. So I say to them, this is a gift that God gave to you, so honor him in doing it and do it as if it's the last thing that you'll do. And many a times I see young teachers will say, I can't. They get a task and they say, I can't do it. Or they'll get a job and they say, I'm a new teacher, I can't teach CAPE. My first job was teaching CAPE, and I took on the challenge. I never said I can't. And in many occasions when these persons who have worked with, when they talk about me, they'll say, one thing with you, Nadine, you never say you can't, you always say you'll try. So I say to them, always say you will try. It might look daunting, it might look difficult, but never say never. Always say, let me try to see if I can do it. And always remind them, remember, I said I'm trying. So if I don't do well, please don't hold it against me. Never say you can't, and never, ever, ever take a child personal, because that in itself will destroy you and you'll become bitter.
That is so true. That is very good. And I like that you tell them to try, because even when they become a teacher, they would want their child or their students to try rather than sit there
Exactly.
and cry. And we just want to say thanks again for all that you have shared with us. And I hope everyone who is watching this show will learn something from this, whether you're a teacher or you are in any other career field. Try and try again, and you will succeed with also the Almighty God in the midst. So I want you to go right now, leave a comment in the box, like, subscribe, click that bell, and we'll see you next time on Real Talk with your host, Natoya
Thanks for
Perkins.
having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.